Welcome to this explainer. You're here for the ultimate exam cheat sheet to master entrepreneurship. We're going to make this incredibly easy to understand, but we absolutely won't miss a single crucial point. If you've got a test coming up, you are literally in the right place. So let's get into it.
On the agenda today, 1. The core identity. 2. The taxonomy of founders. 3. Functions, charms, and penalties. 4. Head-to-head comparisons. 5. The process defined, and finally, 6. The big picture ecosystem.
All right, Section 1, the core identity. We really need to lock down exactly what an entrepreneur is right out of the gate.
Here's the textbook definition. An entrepreneur is a person who starts a business, organizes resources, takes on risk, and aims to earn a profit. But honestly, the crucial point here is just a simple equation for your memory. Starts a business, plus takes risks, plus manages the whole shebang equals entrepreneur. It's a person who steps into the absolute unknown, wrangles the land, labor, and capital, and does it all with the ultimate goal of making a profit.
Okay, if you're taking notes, definitely star this next part. You've probably heard of ROI, meaning return on investment, right? Well, scratch that for this exam. Here, ROI stands for risk, organize, innovate. Lock those 3 letters in your brain right now. So what does ROI actually look like in practice? Well, as a risk bearer, they're buying resources at fixed prices but selling at uncertain ones, meaning profit is never a sure thing. Then, as an organizer, they're the ultimate manager, pulling together all those factors like land, labor, and capital to actually make the goods. And finally, as an innovator, they're the change maker. They're not just doing the same old thing, they're bringing in totally new products, new methods, or tapping into entirely new markets.
Now here is a classic exam trap. You're going to be asked to list the characteristics of a successful entrepreneur. Just use this cheat code, HHOI plus FOI. That breaks down to hard work, having high goals, optimism, even when things look rough, and independence. Add to that foresight, so seeing those future trends, being a great organizer, and of course, innovation. Seriously, keep this little formula in your back pocket.
Moving on to Section 2, the taxonomy of founders. We know who they are, so let's look at the specific types of founders you'll actually encounter in the wild.
Basically, founders fall into 4 distinct categories. First, the innovating entrepreneur. They're creating brand new things from scratch. Next, the imitative entrepreneur. These guys are smart enough to just copy and apply ideas that are already working for others. Then we have the Fabian entrepreneur. They're super careful, highly skeptical, and honestly, really slow to adopt any changes. And finally, the drawn entrepreneur. They stubbornly refuse to change at all, even if it's literally hurting their business. Oh, and keep in mind, you can also classify founders by how they work. So, solo operators, active partners who put in time and money, or pure inventors who just want to create.
To make absolutely sure you don't blank on the test, just lock in the letters IIFD. Innovating, imitative, Fabian, drone. It's that simple. Instantly recall this whole taxonomy with those 4 letters.
Okay, Section 3, functions, charms, and penalties. Let's step away from the theory for a second and look at the reality check. What do they actually do? What are the sweet rewards and what are the harsh realities?
Here's the step-by-step lifeblood of the role. We can boil down their super complex functions into an easy 6-step process. 1. Idea and objectives. So, vision meets market survey. 2. Raising funds, getting that capital together. 3. Procurement, buying the machines and raw materials. 4. Market research, to truly understand what people want. 5. Form the enterprise and recruit your team. And 6. Implementation, actually turning the key and starting the engine.
Now, you might be wondering, why on earth do people subject themselves to all this? Well, it's the massive magnetic pull of the charms. You get to be your own boss and earn your own money. You get complete freedom and personal satisfaction, the absolute power to decide your own fate, massive wealth potential for future security, and the earned respect of your peers. Sounds pretty great, right?
Well, it's not all sunshine and massive profits. And trust me, examiners love asking about the penalties. Notice the heavy irony here. You become an entrepreneur for freedom, right? But your freedom is actually severely limited by your financiers, suppliers, and customers. There's constant frustration from a lack of resources. The insanely long hours absolutely drain your family and social life. You deal with intense mental stress when things go wrong, and hanging over your head 24/7 is the constant, looming risk of total, absolute failure.
Let's hit Section 4, head-to-head comparisons. This is the ultimate high-yield exam fodder. Your test will almost certainly grill you on these distinctions, so let's break them down clearly. First up, entrepreneur versus manager.
You absolutely need to lock in this mental snapshot. The entrepreneur is the owner. Their motive is personal satisfaction, they take on all the risk and uncertainty, and their reward is an uncertain profit. The manager, on the flip side, is the employee. They work for someone else, they take zero personal financial risk, and they execute the owner's plans in exchange for a nice, safe, fixed salary.
But wait, there's a fascinating middle ground here called the intrapreneur. Simply put, an intrapreneur is an employee inside a large company who acts like an entrepreneur. They use internal R&D to create totally new ideas and products without actually having to leave the safety of the organization.
When we put the entrepreneur and intrapreneur side by side, notice the crucial differences. The entrepreneur is totally independent, hustles for their own funds, operates completely outside a corporate safety net, and bears full, crushing financial risk. The intrapreneur, though, they're dependent on the company. They use company funds and operate inside. They get all the cool facilities and backing to innovate with practically zero personal risk. The trade-off, of course, is that they don't get that massive windfall of profit if the idea takes off. The company does.
All right, Section 5, the process defined. We've talked a lot about the people, so let's firmly define the actual mechanics of the process itself.
If you ever need a formal definition for a short answer question, lean on this quote from academic authority A.H. Cole. Entrepreneurship is a purposeful activity to earn profit. It's simple and to the point. And to add a little flavor, famous economist Joseph Schumpeter adds that this whole process is fundamentally driven by continuous innovation.
Now here is a massive distinction you cannot afford to mess up on exam day. Entrepreneur versus entrepreneurship. Never, ever confuse the two. The entrepreneur is the person, the organizer, the risk bearer. Entrepreneurship is the process, the actual act of taking the risk and building the business. Basically, the organizer does the organization to build an enterprise. Person versus process. And finally, Section 6, the big picture ecosystem. Let's zoom way, way out and look at why all of this matters on a massive global scale.
Entrepreneurship is quite literally the engine of a nation's economy. The benefits are just massive. It drives economic growth mainly through huge job creation. It brings in new technology and completely fresh products. It forces market competitors to step up their game, which is great for consumers, and ultimately, through R&D and better machinery, it increases the overall productivity of the entire country. It's a real game changer.
But of course, that kind of national growth doesn't just happen in a vacuum. It relies heavily on a really complex mix of variables. You need the right family background. Business families obviously offer an easier entry point. You need personal characteristics like specific skills and youthful energy. Economic factors like capital availability are absolutely crucial. But you also need a sociocultural environment that actually supports risk-taking, favorable government policies, and finally, psychological factors like a deep, burning internal need to achieve something big.
So here's the ultimate question. We've covered the exact exam formula, from defining the individual to their massive national impact. You've literally got the ultimate cheat sheet in your hands right now. But looking beyond the test, knowing the incredible charms and the severe, punishing penalties, do you have the psychological drive and sociocultural backing to become the ultimate innovator? Think about it. Go absolutely crush your exam, and we'll catch you next time.